Hello, and welcome to the SMA Baby Club podcast, where we chat all things baby, parenting, and those big questions new mums and dads and parents to be often have. I'm Amy, your host, and today we're diving into a subject that we're starting to hear more and more about: gut health. More specifically, your baby's gut health. We're going to be exploring what gut health actually is, whether it's something you need to consider in the early years, and why everyone keeps mentioning this thing called the microbiome. I promise we're going to keep it simple, friendly, and practical, no scary science lectures. And to help us, I'm joined by the very brilliant Maude Grant, who is our Nutrition and Scientific Affairs Manager at SMA. Welcome, Maude.
Thanks so much for having me. I'm really excited to be here.
Me too. I'm so happy to have you. So, gut health is something that I keep reading about, keep hearing about. And just to start at the very beginning, can you explain in simplest terms what is gut health?
So, when we talk about gut health, what we're referring to is the overall well being of our digestive tract, so the gastrointestinal tract. And this relies heavily on a balance of microorganisms within our gut, which is known as the gut microbiome. So, these microorganisms include bacteria, fungi, and lots of other tiny life forms. And together, they help digest our food, produce vitamins, and also keep our immune system strong.
So it's like a kind of mini ecosystem we have going on in our tummies.
Yeah, you can think of babies or our gut microbiome as a tiny garden, and all the different types of bacteria are like the different types of plants and flowers. So the more diverse your garden is, the healthier it is. But like plants need sunlight and oxygen and food to grow, the bacteria in our gut also needs food and fertilizers that take the form of fibers. And really, different types of fibers help to grow the bacteria in our gut and maintain that balanced ecosystem.
Sounds like there's a lot going on. It's very busy down there.
Yes, it's very busy, and it's very busy from day one. Our gut microbiome is in constant conversation with other parts of our body, especially the immune system. So, around 70% of our immune system and our immune cells are in our gut. So, really, when we're talking about gut health, we're talking about much more than just that. We're also talking about our immune system and our overall health.
It's quite a lot, isn't it? That's huge, really. And obviously, here we've got lots of parents listening. So, specifically talking about babies, parents might be wondering, does this really matter when my baby's newborn, just a few weeks or months old?
Yeah, so it does really matter because when your baby is born, so is their gut microbiome. When baby is in the womb, they essentially have a blank slate for a gut. And when they are born, it starts to develop rapidly. And actually, by the age of 3, they end up having almost an adult type established gut microbiome. So that's often why we talk about the importance of the first 1,000 days, because it's really this crucial window of building foundations. Lots of systems are developing during this time: the immune system, the gut microbiome, the brain. So it's a really important time for us to be setting up the gut microbiome for the future.
So, the gut health today is really setting them up for tomorrow, like you say.
Yes, definitely.
Amazing. So we've had a question actually from one of our baby club members, Hannah, mum to 3-month-old Sophie. And she says, I keep hearing about the gut being the second brain. Is that just a catchy phrase that we've all heard, or is there actually some truth to that?
Yeah, so that's a really good question. And there is actually truth to that. So the gut has its own kind of bunch of nerves that are often called the second brain. And they use the same sort of chemical messengers that the brain does. So there is one main way in which our brain and our gut communicate, and that's through the vagus nerve. So it's almost like a communication highway coming from your brain to your gut. And messages can be sent in both ways. So your gut can tell your brain how it's feeling, and your brain can send instructions back to your gut. So really, the gut-brain connection, that's sometimes why you feel emotions in your stomach. If you're nervous, you might feel butterflies. And that's your gut and your brain communicating. And it's also why researchers are so fascinated by how gut health can potentially affect mood and behaviors and vice versa.
Amazing. It really is fascinating. So, getting practical, are there things that actually can shape baby's gut health?
Yep. So there's lots of things that shape baby's gut health, and some of them start from birth. And what people don't realize is the way in which baby is delivered can actually influence the development of their gut microbiome. So during a vaginal birth, for example, baby is coated in microbes from mum's birth canal and also from her skin. And these plant the first seeds of baby's gut microbiome early on in life. And when you're born via cesarean section, C-section, babies don't get quite the same exposure. It doesn't mean that their gut doesn't develop well, so it's nothing to worry about. But it is also just important for us to be aware of this so we can help support baby's gut microbiome development in other ways.
I literally never knew that. I feel like that's a really important thing to know. It's super interesting and something I think probably lots of parents haven't thought about if they're not aware. So what about what happens after birth?
Yeah. So from birth, feeding is a hugely important step in developing gut health. So it's often said that birth seeds and breast milk feeds. So birth plants the first seeds of the gut microbiome, and then breast milk actually feeds those live bacteria and those microbes. Breast milk contains obviously all the nutrition your baby needs to grow within the first 6 months of life, but it also contains these special fibers called human milk oligosaccharides, HMOs, and these help the bacteria in your baby's gut to thrive. So breastfeeding is recommended for many, many reasons, one of which we've spoken about, the development of the gut microbiota, the gut microbiome, but also the development of the immune system, the brain, and even appetite development as well.
So I breastfed both my babies, but I had plenty of friends who were unable to breastfeed for various different reasons. If that's the case, then what does that mean for your baby's gut health?
Yeah, so every family's feeding journey is going to be different. And what matters most is what works for you, your family, and your baby. So if you choose not to or cannot breastfeed, you don't need to worry. Your baby's gut will still develop, they'll still thrive because there are many other things that can help support baby's gut development. If you do choose formula, then formulas often have added fibers that can help increase the growth of friendly bacteria in baby's gut.
Amazing. And apart from feeding, are there any other things that also help to shape gut health?
Yeah, definitely. So, later diet, lifestyle, but also the home environment. So, babies who are born or who grow up with pets, or who grow up on a rural setting, like in a farm, or even those who have older siblings, they're exposed to a greater variety of microbes, which might sound a bit unpleasant, but actually it helps support and train their gut microbiome and their immune system. So it helps to train their immune system to tolerate harmless microbes and to not overreact, because an immune system that overreacts is more prone to allergies. And another very practical thing is just the use of unnecessary antibiotics. It has a negative impact on the gut microbiome development. So, antibiotics are for bacterial infections, and often, they can be prescribed or used for the common cold, which is a virus. So it's not going to do much to help you there. So really just check with your doctor and make sure that there's no unnecessary use of antibiotics while you're pregnant. And also, if you do have to take them, it's much more important than you are well for your baby. So also don't worry about that.
Fab. So for parents to be that might be listening, is there anything that mums can do aside from avoid unnecessary antibiotics? Is there anything else mums can do during pregnancy to kind of help support their baby's future gut health?
Yeah, so it's quite interesting because the research is suggesting that when you're pregnant, part of your gut microbiome is actually transferred to your baby. So you having a good microbiota during pregnancy, before pregnancy as well, can really help support baby's gut microbiota as well. So we do know that it's not always possible to eat as you would have before pregnancy due to nausea or fatigue. But if you do feel up to it, then adding a variety of plant foods to your diet can really help support your microbiota. So you can think of really the 6 plant food groups. So they are the fruits and veggies, which we know well, the nuts, the seeds, legumes like pulses and beans, and also whole grains. So if you aim to add a mixture of these to your diet during pregnancy when you're feeling well, and also aim for 30 grams of fiber a day, that can really help support your gut microbiota.
Amazing. And I've heard a rumor that what you eat during pregnancy might influence your baby's taste. Is that right?
Yeah. So the flavors that you're having and you're eating during pregnancy and also during breastfeeding, your baby is actually exposed to these. And some of the research suggests that this early exposures of a variety of different flavors may actually mean that your baby is more likely to accept those flavors later on when it comes to introducing solids.
I mean, for me, that totally explains why my kids love sweet stuff because unfortunately I did crave that during pregnancy. So, if you're struggling with nausea, are there any tips that you can give mums to be in terms of making sure they're still managing to get their kind of fiber intake?
Yeah, so I know that salty crackers are often a go-to when you're feeling nauseous during pregnancy. What you can try and do even just there is swap out a plain salted cracker for a whole grain or a mixed seed cracker, which often doesn't change the taste or the texture. So you're still getting what you need and what you're craving, but you're increasing that variety in your diet.
Fab, thank you. So when we move forward and we think about weaning, it's a whole new stage to think about, all new challenges. What happens to gut health when we start introducing solids?
So, when it comes to starting solids, this is a major leap in the development of baby's gut microbiome. And in the UK, the guidelines are to start introducing solids at around 6 months of age. So, some babies might be a little bit sooner than this, some babies might be a little bit later than this. But what's good to look out for are the signs that your baby is ready for introducing solid foods. So they have good hand to mouth coordination. They can pick up their toys and put them in their mouth. They can sit upright with a bit of support and hold their head. And they often have this tongue reflex that pushes food out of their mouth, and that will have reduced by the time that they're ready.
Are there any like great examples of like first foods to sort of introduce at the beginning?
Yes. So when your baby is ready, what's important is to make sure that the foods that you're introducing are developmentally appropriate for their age. So when you're starting at the beginning, you're looking at smooth purees. But even from the very beginning, you can introduce a variety of fibers to baby's diet. You can think about introducing a rainbow. So you can puree up carrots, orange carrots, or green spinach. And really, as they are growing and developing, you can then increase the different textures and flavors, adding in whole grain pastas later on, and really expanding the variety of fibers within their diets.
I mean, in our house, blueberries were always a massive favorite. Broccoli, not so much at the beginning. Um, is there anything that parents can do if they're struggling to kind of introduce those first foods or baby's not accepting certain vegetables and fruits?
Yeah, so it's definitely don't take it personally. It's not your cooking. If you think about it, every new food that baby is trying is completely new for them. So we have to be patient. And really, the research is telling us that it can take up to or more than 20 exposures to a new food before a baby accepts it. Not before they like it, but before they accept it. So really, the patience is repetition and variety and keeping that going. Because really what you're doing with each new exposure is that you're giving baby's gut microbiome that variety, and also baby's taste buds that variety to really set them up for good future eating.
So we're kind of going back to that whole garden that you spoke about earlier and
Exactly.
giving it as much different fertilizer as possible.
Yes.
Um, Another kind of hot topic, I guess, is feeding issues. So that can be quite common and something that lots of parents experience, but can also be quite kind of stressful time and upsetting for kind of parent and child. Um, Feeding issues, a common one being constipation, is that linked to gut health?
So there is quite a lot of research and some ongoing research that's looking at the link between baby's gut health and feeding issues. There's some research that suggests that an imbalance in the bacteria of baby's gut may lead to issues that means that digestion isn't as smooth. However, what the good news is that as baby's gut matures and as their microbiome matures, most of these issues do actually pass.
I mean, again, when I became a mum, I didn't realize quite how much time I would spend talking to other parents about poo, like how frequently they poo, the color of the poo. Is there a kind of time when you should really be worried?
Yeah, so I mean, it is very normal to be very interested in your baby's poo, but I guess some of the watch outs for let's say constipation are if you start to notice that your baby is not themselves. So every baby is different, and for example, a breastfed baby might poo once or twice a week, while a formula fed baby might poo once or twice a day, and both of these can be very normal. So some of the watchouts would be if you notice a pattern of hard pellet-like stools, pellet-like poos. If baby goes off their feed, if they're irritable, if they seem to be in a lot of pain, if there's any blood in the stool, then really you need to go to your healthcare professional and get some further advice. But most of the time, this constipation is not the actual issue. It's more babies learning how to digest their food and may struggle a little bit. So there are kind of gentle things that parents can do, like tummy massage or gently bicycling baby's legs to get some gas out. That might help baby feel more comfortable. But at the end of the day, you should really trust your gut. And if your baby doesn't see themselves, then you should speak with your healthcare professional.
I love that you just said that you should trust your gut.
It's unintentional.
I feel like that's the perfect note to end on, because we've covered so much today. So from what the microbiome actually is, as to why gut health is the foundation for like immunity and digestion, and all the things that can shape it in those early months and years. So I guess, Maude, thank you so much for joining me today and making a complex topic just really easy for parents to understand. So thank you so much.
Thanks for having me. I really enjoyed the chat, and I hope it was helpful.
Thank you. And to all our listeners, your baby's gut is incredible and is growing and learning just as rapidly as the rest of them. Even small things like introducing variety, letting them explore their environment, and just being aware of how amazing this little system is can make a real difference and have a long-term impact on lifelong health. Thank you for tuning in to the SMA Baby Club podcast. We will be back soon with more conversations to support you on your parenting journey. Until then, take care and give those little tummies an extra squish from us. And don't forget to like and subscribe. And if you need any support, our SMA Care line is available 24/7. We hope you enjoyed this episode of the SMA Baby Club podcast. Make sure to rate it and subscribe so you never miss an episode. And don't forget to join the SMA Baby Club if you're not already a member. See you next time.